Hello, our clinical trial hopes to prevent seizures among young patients diagnosed with epilepsy. In this presentation, you will learn about GME is released how we aim to reduce its effects.
Epilepsy is a neurological condition that affects the brain and the nervous system. People living with epilepsy have a tendency to have seizures that start in the brain. The brain consists of millions of nerve cells that use electrical signals to control the body's function, senses, and thoughts. If these signals are disrupted, patients may have a seizure.
Juvenile myoclonic epilepsy, JME, usually appears between the ages of 5 and 16. The actual cause of JME is unknown. Possible causes include brain infections, head injury, and complications at birth, which force the baby to receive less oxygen. Many patients have family history of JME, which leads researchers to believe there is an inherited aspect of the disease. The 3 types of seizures that patients typically experience are absence seizures, which appear as daydreaming or zoning out for several seconds. Myoclonic seizures, which appear as jerking movements in the muscles of the arms or legs. And worst of all, tonic-clonic seizures, which occur when muscles throughout the whole body stiffen and jerk for several minutes.
As our goal for clinical research involved preventing seizures, we looked into what medications were already on the market. A certain drug known as sodium valproate was one of the most common. However, it can only be taken by males, which can become much of a burden for females. This drug can cause damage to an unborn fetus as well as damage to the reproductive organs. It also causes an abundance of side effects, some of which include aggression, confusion, deafness, and many more.
Another medication available for epilepsy is levetiracetam. It could be used in both girls and boys. However, it is less effective than sodium valproate. It has many side effects, including aggression, anorexia, anxiety, cough, depression, diarrhea, dizziness, drowsiness, headache, insomnia, nausea, tremor, rash, and vomiting.
Okay, hempannidol is the new treatment proposed to reduce the frequency of seizures in epileptic patients.
It's derived from a chemical found in cannabis, and research suggests that it does not include the same neurological effects that make cannabis an abusive drug, so no worries about getting high or something while on that drug.
So our goal for this trial is to find out whether this drug works, basically, whether it reduces seizures in epileptic patients. This stage of the trial is phase 2, so we're looking primarily at safety, but we're also starting to look at efficacy and whether it actually works.
The eligibility criteria of the study focuses on JME patients between the ages of 13 to 16. We chose a slightly older age range because by this point, many patients would have received a diagnosis and experienced more severe seizures. This will be a phase 2 study primarily focused on the safety of the drug, like Oliver said. Previously in phase 1, it was found that a range of 50 to 1,000 milligrams of hempannidol is safe to consume in adults. So the priority is to find a safe dosage for adolescents that provides the greatest benefits. In the study, there will be 2 arms. The first is the control group, which which is comprised of 100 patients who will continue their regular medication, levetiracetam. The second is the experimental group, who will start a baseline dosage of 250 milligrams of hempannidol.
The total duration of the study will be 180 days, so about 6 months. And by week 8, doctors can evaluate patients and recommend either a lower dose of 50 milligrams or a higher dose of 500 milligrams. By week 16, patients have the opportunity to move to an even higher dosage, which would be 750 milligrams. Hempannidol is compared against levetiracetam instead of a placebo because an existing solution exists, so it would be unethical to take patients off of their medication. The patient will also be expected to self-report symptoms on a daily basis. They should meet with their doctors every 2 weeks to discuss their symptoms and concerns and allow the doctor to perform a physical examination. In addition, monthly EEG scans will be taken.
All right, so to lessen the inconvenience of asking patients to self-report their symptoms on a day-to-day basis, we're introducing a web-based or app-based survey platform, which we will now demonstrate in a video tutorial. So this is just walking through like a patient login portal, and it takes you through some questions that will be asked about the symptoms of epilepsy that they would experience, and yeah, just some different types of questions. I don't know if you guys can read the text, but we will explain why we came up with these questions. And just wait until the end of the video. That's okay. Yeah. So this is question 4, and then there's a submit function, and then they have the contact information of the researchers and doctors in case they have any concerns or issues with their medication.
Okay, yeah, so those questions were asking about different symptoms and the severity of each seizure that the patient may have had on that day. So it asked questions like, did you have any irregular movements in your fingers? Did you doze off for 10 seconds or more? Did you experience overall jerking movements in your body, and for how long? Just so that the doctor can monitor them, because we are primarily concerned with safety in a phase 2 trial, to make sure there are no adverse effects, and to hopefully see a little bit of improvement, but definitely to make sure everyone's doing okay and is being safe.
Phase 1 trials of hempannidol have been carried out with adults, and as yet, doses of up to 1,000 milligrams have been determined safe for use in adults. So currently, we're unsure how the drug will affect children, which is why we're starting them on the lower dose to begin with.
So let's have a quick recap of our whole presentation and our clinical trial. So overall, our clinical trial aims to prevent the seizures in juvenile myoclonic epilepsy amongst adolescent patients. We are in phase 2, so we will mainly be looking at the safety as well as the efficacy, but that's not a main factor. It's mainly in phase 3, as well as the different doses. We focused on making our materials adolescent-friendly and convenient to access, so our patient information sheet and our virtual check-in. And yeah, that's our patient information sheet right there. You can read it if you want. And yeah, thank you for listening to us and hearing about our clinical trial. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. So,
Okay.
It's supposed to be in the grey box.
Thank you. That was a lovely presentation. I've just got one question, which is, in your protocol, you say that people who are on your levetiracetam, they would be eligible for your trial. Why would somebody who was happy on their current treatment go on to your clinical trial? Or is that a question that you've considered?
So instead of a placebo group, we thought we could use those patients if they're willing to participate, because even if they're happy with their current treatment, our future medicine might have fewer side effects, and they might just be interested in helping people in the future by giving us something to compare to in our clinical trial. So we figured instead of having people who weren't on any medication or trial, because we felt that that would be unfair. We wanted something to compare it to, but so we can develop hopefully a even better medication.
More effective drug, but people on levetiracetam are so. But obviously, girls can't take sodium valproate and women can't take sodium valproate. So the point of the trial is to try and find a new drug that is going to maybe that both men and women are going to be able to take, and the side effects are going to be less severe for both genders.
First of all, I just want to say fantastic job. You've done brilliant exercise all week as mini researchers, and I do hope you're going to have a research career because you'll be fantastic. So my question is, when do you intend to get consent of the patients?
You can confer amongst yourselves.
Okay, so maybe if the patient discusses with their doctor that they'd be interested in participating, maybe they're looking for less side effects or to try something new, and then at that point, you would give them the consent sheet and go over it with them.
So, just to echo the comments, I think the presentation so far this morning, I know we're only at number 2, but the standard's getting set very high by everyone, so well done. The question I had was about your study design. It's no way a criticism about your choice of groups, just really interested in how you thought through that process. So you've chosen to kind of have a dose escalation to try and work out an effective dose, rather than having maybe 3 different treatment groups on a set concentration. So I was just interested how you'd kind of come to that decision. What led you to that design idea? And feel free to pass the microphone down this end if anyone down that end wants to go to discuss.
We had contemplated having 3 separate groups of dosages, but we, even just from experience with all of our treatments throughout our lives, we've noticed that it's common to start on a certain dose and adjust depending on symptoms and side effects. And we thought that that would be most effective in especially the adolescents, since there isn't yet a set dose, and there's more confidence in adults.
I think because we don't know how this drug is going to react in the adolescent population, we thought that if we all started them on a single dose that was a fourth of what had been safe for the adult group, they'd all be able to start at a certain range, and then depending on their symptoms, we'd be able to adjust that. So I think it was like a baseline, and then, because each person's different and we don't know how they're going to react, so I think to put everybody in a specific group, I don't know if that's even fair, so.